1,000 years ago, this land was green and good, until the crystal cracked.
Having gone through the origins and lore of Thra, and of Aughra, who's an emanation out of Thra, let's look at one more piece of literature that we have from inside the world of Thra, known as the Covenants of Thra. Hey y'all, this is Jason Delgado. Welcome to the Dark Crystal Conjunction. Today we're going to look at a one-page excerpt from the epic poem by Fellen the Elder known as The Covenants of Thra. Now this does come from Creation Myths, Volume 1, and it is one of those creation myths, whereas we have a much fuller story that we've gone through when we talked about the origins of the Gelfling, of Thra, and of Aughra. This is just kind of a one-page excerpt, and I like how they frame this because they tell you that it's an excerpt from the epic poem by Fellen the Elder. Let me read to you The Covenants of Thra. In the days before voice, before song, before story, in the oldness of time, at the newness of Thra, endless battle was made between flora and fauna, ceaseless warring, without any victor or cause. Just the mewling, the gnashing, the pain and the scarring, the cruel opposition of sky versus ground, attack and repulsion, offense and evasion, to no cycle, no order, no victory, no gain. Then out of the mud, from the moss, from the moisture, arose a new creature, a new kind of life. It was Aughra a-borning, the Earth Mother rising, the goddess grotesque and the watcher of skies. She called to the stars in a voice newly raspy. She cried to the suns with a grimace of calm. She extracted a promise to carve the world lengthwise, form the patterns that govern the covenant of Thra. As she brokered agreement, accord, cooperation, it was written, unwritten, and written again. In the end was a contract, consigned and accepted, an agreement that arose from the carving of realms. To the thrice-circling suns came a circlet of sky. To the dark-seeing stars went the void all around them. To the waters went shallows and tide-ruffled waves. To the land came its ridges, its rises and depths. As the pattern was laid out, the diagram constructed, twice triangled circles with arcs, points, and bars, scribed the balance yet yielding, conjunction predicted. Thus came peace to the kingdom of sea, land, and star. That's it. That is the one-page excerpt from the epic poem by Fellen the Elder. Now, Fellen the Elder is a character that we know nothing else about. He doesn't show up in any other stories, comics, in the movie, or anything like that. The name itself doesn't sound like it is a Urskek, Uru, or Skeksis name, so I have to assume it is a Gelfling name, and I would assume that it is a Gelfling poet or a historian of some sort, or rather a songwriter. We know a lot of the history of the Gelfling were songwriters. He has the title Elder, so perhaps it's a historian or someone in power of some sort. We don't really know anything about him. Again, that's speculation on my part. Even the term Elder has not been used anywhere else in Gelfling lore, so this could be very, very old. I'm not sure what period or what age this is from, but you can definitely get the sense that this is truly a creation myth. This is the people coming up with their own story of creation, of how it took place and whatnot. And it may have they did know Aughra. There was a point where Aughra went off to really study the stars off on her own. And so perhaps the true history of the origins and whatnot got changed a little bit or elaborated. You know how those tall tales go. They get passed down and passed down and passed down. They kind of get taller and taller, the tale, if you will. Perhaps this is like that. We really don't have any other information on that. So again, all my info about what this is exactly is all speculation. But still, I do find this piece of Thra history rather interesting, as I love to study out covenants, and it's interesting that they would bring out this covenant. Covenant is an agreement. It's a stipulations between two parties. Nowadays it would be more legally binding documents. An agreement, it talks about cooperation. They brokered an agreement, an accord, and this is really the covenant between Thra and Mother Thra, if you will. Aughra. It's interesting how they're working together and the agreement they come to. This is still a very interesting piece of history. It's just kind of like finding a page in archaeology if you dug up some Gelfling ruin. Is what I would assume. But with that, there's really no more info about that. So I'm kind of curious to your own thoughts. What do you think about this one kind of document that just kind of put there in Creation Myths. I think it's rather cool. This is actually one of my favorite things about Creation Myths Volume 1 is that they had little kind of 1-2 page documents like this that were kind of in-world, in-universe, or, in Thra pieces of literature. Very cool. We'll go through some more, especially when we talk about the origins of, how did the Gelflings get their wings? What's all that about? What are the stories that have been passed down from there? There are many tales. So with that, I don't have anything more, as this is just a little tiny bit of lore I wanted to bring you guys. I know I've been a little behind on my lore videos because I've been a little extra busy in my life, so I appreciate your patience and your continued support. Until next time, keep exploring Thra.